This is MetaMath Stage 7, and in this one we're going to be looking at percentages. I'm probably going to end up using 2 or 3 different ways of doing these. There's a lot of different ways to do percentages, and I'm going to try and keep it as easy as possible. I will though use at some stage our bubbles like so, because I know that some people like to use these. On the first one, 50% of 150, 50% is the same as a half. So we are looking for half of 150. So I'm not going to use a bubble method for this one. All I'm going to do is actually, let's use our bus stop. 150 divided by 2. 2 into 1 doesn't go, carry the 1. 2 into 15, 7 times, remainder 1. 2 into 10 goes 5 times. 75 is our solution, no big deal on that one. Increase 280 by 40%. Well, if it's an increase, then the 280 is going to get bigger, so we need to add something to 280, and that 40% is what we're looking for. On this one, I think we will use our bubble method. So we go over here to our bubble method, we're looking at this. First of all, horizontally, so across here, we're going from 100 to 10 to 1. So you are dividing by 10 each time. Vertically, so if we're to go down this way, we're going from 100 to 50 to 25. So what's happening this time is we're dividing by 2. We're halving the number each time. And that's the very same inside here. You've got 10 divided by 2 will give you the 5%. So in our question here, we're told that 280, we want to increase that by 40%. So 280 is our starting point. That'll be our 100%. And we can fill in the rest of these. 50% would be 140 because we're dividing it by 2. And if I need the 25%, it's 140 divided by 2, which is 70. Vertically, we want to do 280 divided by 10, which is 28. And 28 divided by 10 is 2.8. Notice how vertically the digits aren't changing. We're just moving each digit to the next column. Finally, the 5% one, we're moving vertically, so we're dividing by 2. 28 divided by 2 is 14. And you notice here as well that if we went from 50% to 5%, we're dividing by 10. 140 divided by 10 is 14. So these look good. We want to make up 40%. There's a couple of different ways we could do that. What we could do is have 4 lots of 10%. Or what I think we'll do is we'll take the 50% and take 10% off it, and that will give us 40%. So if I do 140 subtract 10%, which is 28, we will end up with our solution of 112. So that's 40%. But if you remember, we weren't asked to find 40%, we're asked to increase 280 by 40%. So we need to do 280 plus 112. If you were to work that out using your column method, you'll end up with 392. And that is pounds. Don't forget your units. 392 pounds. For C, we're not going to use our bubble method, I think, on this one. I think we're going to straightforward this one is 10%. It's a nice easy number. We could write it as a fraction. So it'll be 10 out of What percent is out of 100? So that says a fraction. That can be simplified. We can divide both numerator and denominator by 10, which will leave me with 1 over 10. So 10% is the same as 1/10. What we're doing is we want to look for 1/10 of 175. If you look at some previous videos whereby we're multiplying and dividing decimals, we looked at multiplying by tens, dividing by tens. The digits stay the same, so it's going to be 175, but the place value for each digit changes. It needs to shift. We want to make this smaller, so we're going to move everything to the right or move the decimal point to the left, whatever way you think of it, and our answer is going to be 17.5. But before I'm finished with that, it's pounds, so put in your units. And we don't say the 17.5 because it is pounds, because it is money. We need 2 digits after the decimal point. So it's £17.50. Next one, we're asked to decrease 500 kg by 75%. So we know that because it's decrease, it needs to be 500 subtract something. And that something obviously is the 75%. For this question, I'm going to use the Bubba method again. So if we get rid of what we had originally, this time our 100% is going to be 500. And if you remember, when we are going horizontally, we're divided by 10. So 10% is 50, 1% is 5. Moving vertically down the page, we're dividing by 2. So 500 divided by 2 is 250. 250 divided by 2 is 125. And not to forget the 5%. So to move down the page from 10% to 5%, we divide by 2. So it is 25. Now to make 75%, again, there's a couple of different ways, but we'll try and make it as easy as possible. I have a 50%, I have a 25%. If I was to add those two together, I'd get 75%. So we'll do 250 plus 125. So our solution is 375. But don't rush ahead. We need it to decrease. So it's 500, take away 375. Use your column method for that. Make sure everything's in the correct column. You'll likely have to borrow from your neighbour on this one. But your answer will end up being 125 kg. For our next question, it is 25% of 72 kg. 25%, again, it's a nice easy percent to work with. Up here we had 50%, we said it's a half. Well, 25% is half that. And half of a quarter, we should all know is, or sorry, half of a half is a quarter. So that's the same as doing a quarter of 72. So using my bus stop, 72 divided by 4. 4 into 7 goes once, remainder 3. 4 into 32, 8 times. No remainders, so our solution is 18. 18 kg. If you do it a different way, maybe you could have got 10%, 5%, added two 10% together plus a 5%. As long as you're getting to the same solution, 18 kg, that's absolutely fine. There's a couple of different ways of doing these I mentioned earlier. For F, we're told that £60 is 40%, and we want to find 100%. So, I'll move up here. 40% is equal to £60. and I want to get to 100%. Right now I can't see any obvious way of getting from 40 to 100 by multiplying. We're not going to do any addition on this one. It needs to be a multiplier that we use. So I can't see anything obvious, so what I'm going to do is, if I can find 10% first. If I got the 10%, it's very easy to get to 100% after that. So we get from 40 to 10. I'll divide by 4. You only want to be dividing or multiplying along here like this. Whatever I do on this side, I'm going to have to do exactly the same on the other. So it'll be 60 divided by 4, which is 15. So 10% equals £15. To get from 10 to 100, I'll need to multiply by something because it's getting bigger, and I'll multiply by 10. And again, whatever I do to this side, I need to do exactly the same over here. So I need to do 15 multiplied by 10, which is £150. And that is your 100%. Very straightforward way of doing it. Again, you could have done it a couple of different ways. If you wanted, you could have divided by 40, get 1%, times that then by 100. But I reckon dividing 60 by 40 would be a bit messy. So that's why I look to get the 10% divided by 4. So our solution to that one was 150. And it is pounds, not to forget the units. 15% of 500. This one, again, this one sounds like a bubble method one for me. So back over here, get rid of my previous numbers. We're starting off with 500. So that'll be our 100%. I didn't need to rub them out. Well, that was a waste of time. So again, 50, and this was 5. Vertically, we're dividing by 2, 250, and down here, 25% is 125. This time we're looking for 15%. We don't already have it, but we can make it very easily using the 10 plus the 5. 10% plus 5% is 15%. So 50 plus 25 will give us 75 as 15%. Lastly, I believe, guys, this one's here upon special request from Miss Connor, because it comes up a lot in your science exams and you're not doing it very well. 15 as a percentage of 150. The way I like to do these is write as a fraction first. So this is essentially 15 out of 150. So 15 as our numerator, 150 as our denominator. What I'm going to do with that then is multiply it by 100 over 1. Because obviously we want to change it into a percentage, and percent always comes back to this 100. It's a key number when it comes to percentages. If I simplify this one first, make it a little bit easier for myself, we end up with 1 over 10. So I divided top and bottom by 15. 15 into 15 goes once. 15 into 150 goes 10 times. And that needs to be multiplied by 100 over 1, which gives us a nice recap of multiplying fractions, which I believe is stage 5 if I remember correctly. Multiplying fractions, we just need to do numerator times numerator, denominator multiplied by denominator. So we've got 1 multiplied by 100 over 10 multiplied by 1, which gives us 100 over 10. Clearly this is an improper fraction, so we need to simplify it. And do remember, guys, this fraction line here means divide, so it's 100 divided by 10. 100 divided by 10 is just 10. And it is 10%, because that's what we're looking for. That's why we multiplied by 100 above here, so that we could change this into a percentage. 10% is our solution. And that is how you do percentages. Again, as I mentioned earlier, all of these we could probably have done in 3, 4, maybe even 5 different ways. We could have brought decimals into it if we wanted to be really awkward about it. So if you do any of these any way different, but you still get the correct solution, that is absolutely fine, as long as you are getting that correct solution. Thank you.